All right, welcome everybody to Meet the Sponsors. Today we have a special guest, Greg Adler. I met Greg probably 15 years ago when I was with Championship Off-Road Racing. He was racing a Pro 4 at the time for Full Wheel Parts, a company that his grandfather founded. And Greg was president and CEO for, I want to say, 2.5 decades, about 26 years before he sold off the company. And it's now owned by Polaris. After Polaris acquired it, Greg went and purchased Off-Road Warehouse. Off-Road Warehouse at the time was a specialty shop in off-road, had 4 retail locations, I believe. And in the past couple of years, Greg has now expanded it to 8. He's already doubled it. Greg, how you doing?
Good to be with you here, Alex. And most of that history is pretty directionally correct, but I'm not that old. So my dad was the first full-time employee. My grandfather had started the business, and I got into the business after about 1990, after 4 years of college at the Harvard of the West, which is known as Arizona State University, and
fun school.
And so I was in the business from 1990 on, and my dad sold it in 2005, and I stayed on and ran it for the next 10 or 11 years, and then we sold it to Polaris in 2016, and I for a little while, and honeymoon kind of ended, and I went into retirement, got my pilot's license, and needed somewhere to fly, so I bought some off-road stores down in San Diego.
Right, just a few off-road stores. Now you've doubled
just a few, somewhere for me to fly my little plane, and where we're at today.
Well, so here's the big question. I'm going to hit you with a curveball right off to the beginning, because I was looking at some old photos the other day, and I found some photos. It was 2006 or 2007 of us on your speedboat in the San Diego Harbor. Travis Coyne was with us. Rhonda Conitzer was with us. I'm pretty sure Rob Foreman is in the photo, and Stacy is there. And that's before you and Stacy were married. So it had to have been 15, 16 years ago. Why have we not gone out on that speedboat again? Or do you still have that?
No, that thing was not a great investment. But it was fun while we had it. So that was one of the great trips. We were down there for actually a business deal. We had a Full Wheel Parts truck fest going on in San Diego, and Bob Foreman and I bought that boat together. So I always try to have partners, especially in some of these bad investments. It takes half the pain away. So anyway, we got some good use, had a lot of fun with that boat, and then at some point it was just kind of sitting and not getting enough time, so we sold it and no longer have that thing. But that was a lot of fun. I remember that time blasting around in the harbor there.
And now you're doing airplanes instead. Must be nice, huh?
Wouldn't say it's smarter, but it's a better write-off, I guess.
Right on. Hey, so those racers who were on the call, this is an interesting segment because Greg not only sponsors some teams through Off-Road Warehouse, but Greg is also a racer. He raced Pro 4 in short course. He races Ultra 4, King of the Hammers. He's gone desert racing. He has a son who races. So Greg not only issues sponsorships, but he understands how to get sponsorships. How long have you been involved in sponsorships, Greg?
Well, let's just say ever since I wanted to race, which was always as a kid, because if you know me, I wasn't going to play basketball for any team, really not athletic for any stick and ball sports. So it was always around motorsports and wanting to do that. So after I came to, I somehow concocted a plan while I was just getting out of college to have my dad help, and I put money into a 1600 car to go racing, and I put
nice
one of our companies on the side of it, and that's where I started. And for me, it was always something I wanted to do. So that was back in the early 90s. I think my first, or actually second race was the Baja 1000. It was a peninsula run, and in 1989, I really didn't know what the heck we were doing, but somehow we got down there and still tell the different stories of that race today. And so that's how that's how long I've been doing it in one form or another. And it always started with convincing my dad at the time, who was running the company, that this was going to be a good idea for the business.
Right.
And think he knew that it really, or I don't want to say he knew, but he wasn't betting on the fact that it was going to help the business as much as it was giving me a chance to go do what I really want to do after putting some time in for the business side.
So you've been in sponsorships a long time, about 30 years. How have you seen it change in terms of the value for sponsors and the deliverables that teams can give sponsors? Because just during COVID alone, or the past couple of years, we've seen that there's a shift in how businesses market. A lot of businesses are now marketing digitally and online and through social, where 30 years ago that didn't exist. So 30 years ago, a logo on a helmet or a race suit or a race car was actually a nice way to market because you could get in the media as long as the team got in the media. Today, that's changed a little bit. What are the more effective ways that teams can sponsor or can represent sponsors today in today's media? And how's that changed?
Yeah, no, it's changed a lot. So I would say back in the day, if you got a picture in a magazine, you were doing good. As TV came along and short course racing, one of the reasons I got involved in short course racing versus desert was that the TV package was just so much more visible for sponsors. So it shifted to where TV was a great venue to help, because just a logo or a sticker on the side of the car without any way or interaction to connect that to business it's a tough sell, and it just can, it's always been a tough sell, and it gets tougher and tougher. So TV was a big dramatic shift. That was short course. And, certainly over the last 10 years, and even more so, as you said, in the last few years, it's all about digital content and really, what's the social media connection, drive that digital content and create that connection from the sticker on the side of the vehicle and the driver or the team to that end consumer, hopefully coming in to purchase a product that they've seen on a race vehicle.
Right. So the primary, I'm going to guess this now, the primary purpose of a sponsorship for let's say a store, a company like Off-Road Warehouse, I'm going to guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to drive traffic into your retail location. More so probably than a website, because you're selling wheels and tires and suspension kits, not something that people order online as much as they would order from Amazon, a book or something. So you probably want people in your stores more so than on the website. Am I correct in that sense? And if so, how does racing get them into the stores?
Yeah, so absolutely. We do have a website and we do sell product, but our focus is on the retail stores and the emphasis of trying to get somebody in the doors, connect with a salesperson, touch and feel the parts, really process the build of the vehicle, more so than, click and buy and then they got to find someone to install, or if they have other issues. So we certainly try to drive them in the door. And so how you do that, it's still a challenge day in and day out to get that done. But, again, digitally now there's some better ways to help promote. And then we just had an event. So we do sponsor a motocross team, a supercross
cool.
through Club MX. And we are just a small associate partner. So small that we ended up on their, the girls see us more than guys because we're actually, the ORW is the butt patch. That was worked out through a buddy of mine that has been involved in Supercross and on team, associated with teams for a long time in his business, and found an opportunity. So anyway, we just did an event in our store. We do have a store out in Marietta, Georgia, so out in Atlanta market, and the Atlanta Supercross was in town. So we promoted along with them, all digitally, about coming into meet the riders. They had 6 or 7 riders from their 250 team and their 450 team. And we gave away tickets to the Supercross event. And, we had, hundreds of people show up for this event. And so that was one way we connected the sponsorship of this motocross team to driving people in our doors to be familiar with Off-Road Warehouse in Marietta, Georgia, and Atlanta.
Nice.
And they told me they had a lot of folks from, not just the Atlanta surrounding area, but folks that had come from Kentucky, different places in Tennessee and other places where it's not Supercross isn't in their state very often. So they came to Atlanta to see the race and came to our store to interact with the riders, get signatures. We had obviously tacos and beer and had great interaction with customers that didn't know Off-Road Warehouse connected through that sponsorship.
Nice. So it seems like Georgia would be a great location because of all the trucks that are in Georgia. A lot of pickup trucks in Georgia, and Off-Road Warehouse clearly caters to Jeeps and trucks and SUVs. I'm assuming also the new Bronco now. What are your expansion markets? Where do you see ORW growing, and will you be looking for sponsorships in those new geographical areas? Will you be perhaps sponsoring teams or people who are in those new areas?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we are, primarily West Coast based. We had this opportunity in Marietta, Georgia, in a great market, in a building that's been an off-road store for 30 plus years. And so, we took a big jump. So today, Off-Road Warehouse is Southern California based with the stores in San Diego, Temecula. We have Corona, Vegas, Phoenix, and then
Marcos
across the country in Atlanta. So we will probably continue to grow, fill in. Obviously, we've got a big map we can fill in. And West Coast is a little easier for us to manage right now. And Off-Road Warehouse, which has been in business for 50 years, has a bigger following in this, in the Southwest. So, primarily from a sponsorship standpoint, we'll continue to kind of focus on races and series that make sense more for the Southwest. We also sell a ton of race products to race teams. So again, to be able to be in that mix in the Southwest is primarily where it makes the most sense for us.
So I know one of the series you're involved with is the Great American Short Course Series. And I know that you raced it last year and they had a race just this past weekend. Were you there, and how was it for sponsorships?
Yeah, so we got involved. Obviously, I've been running short course. My first short course truck was I bought it the day Jim Baldwin bought Core and was going to bring it out to the West Coast, but continue to have the connection with Crandon. And I was convinced by Steve Barlow that it was much cheaper to race a short course truck than a desert truck. And 7 figures later, I found out he was full of shit, but he did the truck. So I've been involved with short course ever since it's been out on the West Coast. It's great racing, door to door. People are there in the stands. They love it. And it's gone through obviously a lot of different transitions from the Core days to Lucas Oil. And unfortunately, Lucas Oil at the last minute made a strategic decision to stop supporting the series. I think they did a great job over, however many years, 10 years or so of.
So probably about a decade, I'm guessing.
It's never easy to exit, but the way they did it, I think they could have handled it a hell of a lot better. But nonetheless, myself and a few other guys, along with Lee Perfect and Dave Cole, found ways to Chip Pulverti and Maurice Ortega from Sheldon Creed's grandfather helped to find a way to keep short course alive on the West Coast and help create the Great American Short Course, or GAS. And it really, my end was there's so many kids that had, these trophy carts, these little razors, moving up, the youth was moving up in short course. And you've seen now the success that a lot of these kids that have done well at short course are now the kids that are moving up through NASCAR. You got Haley Deegan, you got Riley Herbst, you've got, I think, Zane Smith, obviously Sheldon Creed, was the champion in Craftsman Truck, and then our whatever, Camping World Trucks, whatever they call them, and is now in Infinity Series. So a lot of these kids came from this short course racing. And so I wanted to help for the kids to still have a place to race, and any other West Coast racers that want to continue to stay short course out here. And selfishly, I had invested a bunch of money in trophy cards for my kid, so it was wise to continue to support the series and sponsor Great American Short Course.
And he's now 12 years old, racing in the Razor 570 and the modified kart classes.
Yep, he's 12. He's got more race cars than me, and he's got way more trophies than me. So there's a good sign there. But yeah, so he has fun, and we were just out at Victorville for the first race of the year, and so it's still going, and it's still a great place. It's really a good family atmosphere at these gas races, and Lee Perfect's done a really nice job. Poppy, his wife, as well, and trying to keep this thing going with the support that Dave Cole and kind of the Hammer King Productions have with it. So we'll see where it goes, but again, it felt like the right thing to do to try to support this.
And that's why it gets interesting is, so back in the day, you were mentioning television was the reason a lot of companies got into sponsorship, because that was before we had internet or before we used internet the way we do today. Today, however, you don't have to have TV. You can stream. And that's what King of the Hammers does. Dave Cole, Hammer King Productions, and now also Lee Perfect and Poppy Perfect with the Great American Short Course Series and even the Mint 400. Their streaming has gotten so good and it's so affordable relative to broadcasting live NBC sports like we did back in the day with Core, that now sponsors can become part of a streamed series or a streamed property and send their message that way through race teams. Do you find the streaming to be more effective in getting traffic to your stores, or can you send the messaging the same as you could on television? Is it how is streaming versus television? How is that the challenges or the opportunities there? I know the costs are a lot lower when you stream, but do you still get the same recognition and sales out of that kind of visibility?
Yeah, look, that's a tough one to answer. I think that what Dave Cole's done to bring streaming and off-road racing right to your living room through in an amazing way has been kind of revolutionary to off-road racing. And now Mint 400 does a similar, just an amazing opportunity. If you can't be at the race and you can't take that dust in and smell that you hear that truck go blasting by, smell the fuel, it's the next best thing. How is that compared to TV? I can't really tell you the different connection and what's better, but I have to say the live stream is just seems to be where it's going. You can see it now while it's present, and it seems like more and more today people want to see it and they want to live in it now, and then it's gone, and you can keep their attention span for only so long. If the entertainment's good and if you're really a fan of it, of off-road racing in any way, shape, or form, you're going to want to watch that event and stay glued to your your office chair, which Dave used to run the race on Fridays at King of the Hammers. He said, man, people would just be at work and they'd click, they'd be pretend to work all day, but they were watching King of the Hammers. I think it's a great way to promote off-road racing, and some of these guys are doing an awesome job with it.
And what's really cool is that when you get into live streaming, clearly now you're online, you're on the web, is that a lot of those shows, they are uploaded and they become evergreen. So you can, if you miss the live event, you can watch it on your own time, which didn't really happen that much with live streamed television. They don't always, Netflix allows you to go into a library of former content and look at something, but you miss the news or you miss a live event, it's very hard to find it on television again. Very rarely is it rerun more than once, whereas live streaming, anytime you want to watch it, boom, there you go. And also as a racer, if you work with the property that's doing the live stream, you can actually supply them with content that can be inserted into the live stream when there's downtime. if you know in advance what format they're using and work with them in order to provide them some content. So there are some opportunities to get creative as a racer and not just rely on your race results to get visibility, but actually be a little proactive and offer some content to the series that they can use as part of their show and make the show more valuable. And one of your good friends does a pretty good job of that, Mr. Deegan, right?
Yep. Yeah, and just to touch on, I mean, some of the sponsorships we've done with the events like the Mint 400 and King of the Hammers, but specifically this year the Mint 400 include certain amount of commercial segments and discussion covered off on the live stream. So you are getting that extra value, and it's a big part of what the package that they sell to their sponsors. And so sponsors are in some way funding that live stream for all the racers by helping offset, obviously put money into the series to have that.
So should a racer go through their sponsor in order to get inserted into a streamed content, or can racers, I don't know if you know this, or can they go direct to Hammer King Productions, or let's say Mad Media, that they produce the Mint 400, and insert content?
I think it's the first one, which is through their sponsors, because they figured out that it costs them a lot of money to do this. So they're going to figure out how to monetize it the best way they can and offset it. Yeah. So you have a sponsor that is part of, is sponsoring a race event. So there's that connection. Then any way you can provide content, in advance or live in-car cams, or, now they've got the microphones, the Bluetooth technology, so you can hear the racer, the driver, and the co-driver. So any of those things would add a lot of value to your sponsorship.
So I'm going to shift perspectives for a second. Instead of the perspective of being the sponsor, let's go back to being a racer. How much of your time is spent creating content and maybe planning that content to give to a sponsor, either at an event or even in between events, versus practicing for the race itself?
Yeah, so that's a good question. For me, not as much as it should be on the content side, but we have, I'm busy trying to, run the business and make sure my guys and my teams in the stores are doing what they need to do to sell product. We just created a contest for the Baja 500 with my race sponsors. So if based on our sales folks in the stores, one of them is going to win a trip to come down the Baja 500, go running with us, chase the race with us, help in the pits, definitely help tacos and drink beer with us. So, and it's based on the one who sells the most products overall of our sponsored products. We've got BF Goodrich tires that we sell in our stores, Raceline wheels, Odyssey batteries. We've got Rigid lights, Yukon gear and axle. So all these brands, the more they sell, the winner is going to end up coming down to Baja, and then we'll do another one like that for the 1,000. So because I have the ORW, it's easier for me to promote these kind of deals to vendors that want to be involved in off-road racing. They see the benefit, and they see the connection that being with Off-Road Warehouse has that benefit of helping to hopefully sell more products than their competitors as they partner up. So that's some of the value add that I'm able to provide to a sponsor. So we don't just buy their product, which we do, but it's an opportunity to grow their product.
Nice. So do a lot of your sponsors cross promote and work with each other independent of you in order to promote themselves and perhaps you as a race team, or do you have to encourage them to do that? And I'm asking because if a racer has, let's say, 10 associate sponsors and he really wants to do something big by promoting all of them, what can they do to put the sponsors together to create larger media for everybody? Is there anything that's been effective that you've done in the past, or do the sponsors just do that themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of that. If you're able to connect the dots between your sponsors and in some way benefit their business and benefit their bottom line because you connected them with another one sponsors or anyone else in that, whether they're another sponsor, then that's going to obviously create some goodwill with that sponsor. So anything you can do. At the end of the day, I think, it's this business is not easy and it's expensive. Racing's expensive, and so is operating all these businesses. So if you can show that you're providing value above and beyond what they're paying you, you're gonna create a lot of goodwill and probably create another extension to your sponsorship.
Nice. So let's go into value. You mentioned value. Value is kind of hard to calculate, and it's hard to put a dollar figure on what a racer does for a brand. If a new race team that is not very experienced with sponsorship wants to show value to a potential sponsor, they're out approaching a big brand that is not in racing. Where are the value points? What do you recommend that they focus on in order to show that there is a financial value there? With you, you can drive traffic to the store and get sales, maybe through a coupon. You can calculate that, you can quantify it. But with some brands, like say fashion brands or food brands, it might not be as easy to quantify. How do racers create value for retailers like Off-Road Warehouse?
Yeah, so I mean, the non-endemic ones, which you mentioned, like the food or the beverage guys, I mean, separate from the energy drinks, which have been great for sponsorships.
Yeah.
It's tougher, I think it's hard to create that connection for a non-endemic brand to see that value. If it's somebody in this space, in this off-road industry and selling parts, building parts, some connection, then it becomes a little easier. And it's really about, at the end of the day, how many impressions can you drive for them? So if you have you have to have a good social media presence, and you be able to create that connection and those interactions and create those impressions. I've heard some of the energy drinks secondhand have said, look, we don't care if you win races or not. We care about you doing all these other videos that create, all these likes and these follows and all these impressions. That's more important to us than the fact that you won Crandon or that you won Baja or what have you. So again, building that presence, creating that content, creating those followers is really what gives you the chance to stand apart from another racer who could be knocking on that same door.
That's true. It does seem like the food and beverage companies, they like sampling. Not too many people go buying new foods and things they've never tasted before. Tool companies, they like hands-on trying out. They like testing of their equipment. Seems like manufacturers want to prove functionality. Hey, we help these racers win the races because the performance is better using their products. Retailers, they want to drive traffic into the store. The type of sponsor, the type of company and industry that sponsors in really determines where the value comes from. And it seems like the social media thing now that everybody's using is a common way to communicate that value, using social, because everybody has a cell phone, and everybody with a cell phone is a potential media creator and a media distributor. All we have to do is hit record, upload, and share, and we can do everything now ourselves. How are your teams? Now, I know that you're probably one of the primary teams of ORW, but some of the other teams, and I'm going to guess that a lot of your sponsorships are based on contingency. How are those contingency sponsorships created or packaged, or what exactly does that look like for a retailer like ORW when you have contingency sponsorships?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, being a smaller footprint, means, we're trying to build this business into a profitable kind of venture that can continue to grow. So it takes a lot of cash and everything else. So we're not, in a position to just wing out sponsorships, right? I had to buy a business to have somebody sponsor my, again. So I had to buy ORW to have a sponsor.
That's the secret there.
That's the secret. And if you're a racer and you got a business, you probably figured out that you can, at least have a write-off by creating your racing team as a business or putting it under your business as entertainment. But I'm not offering any tax advice here. Just
I'm sure that's what everybody's doing. Yeah.
But so contingency gives us a way to give back to the racers that, are out there working hard to win the races. So we've done that. We've done that with the short course series. We've done that with King of the Hammers, and we're doing it big time this year with SCORE. So we've got, contingency programs where teams can win $5,000 at the end of the year. So more than just $50. There's a lot of little contingency dollars out there that are helpful. And I'm not trying to say that those don't matter, but I wanted to have something that stuck out and it's based on winning the series overall. And you have to do things. You have to sign up with ORW marketing. You have to commit to doing some social posts at a minimum after the race, talking about, the race and tagging ORW and doing some of those kinds of things. And if you win your class, you'd win $5,000 of ORW dollars. So you come in and spend money on, stuff for your race truck. Like I said, we carry all the race products to build a trophy truck or a junior cart or a razor to, your own truck and Jeep personal use. So the contingency gives us, again, that opportunity to support the series, but support more than the series itself. We're supporting the drivers that they can go out and compete and hopefully win a championship and cash in.
And those that can create media for you along the way and hopefully share that media with as many followers who are relevant as possible.
Yeah, selfishly, that's what we want at ORW. And in return, we hope that we can provide something of enough value that it makes sense and stands out versus, like I said, some contingencies are, $100 or $200 per race or $500. So, and again, nothing wrong with those, but we wanted to try to elevate that to a level that would get some folks enthusiastic about it.
Nice. What? So I've asked a lot of questions, but you're more experienced when it comes to racing and sponsorships in the auto industry and the off-road industry than I am. You've been in it longer than I have, probably twice as long as I have. What am I forgetting? What advice do you have to a young new racer needing sponsorships that's looking at this new landscape, this post-COVID landscape where things have changed a little bit and everybody's online now? Somebody seeking money for their race program. What do you think somebody should do who's just now starting versus somebody who's already been doing it for 30 years like yourself? What would you do different if you had to start today?
First, it's not easy. I'm now teaching my son, who's 12, to start to create that content. We just learned, and I learned with him how to edit the videos that, we shoot some on the phone during the race, like a pre-race interview, a post-race interview, some footage, some racing footage, and how to edit that into one video that could then be put on YouTube or Instagram or other places. So again, it's you've got to have that social media connection, and you may be even just starting out. It's not the where you're going to have thousands of followers. My buddy Brian Deegan, he actually, interestingly enough, our friendship started at a core race. He came up to me and said, "Hey, I hear you're the guy in off-road, and I want to start selling some parts." And he was a Metal Militia at the time. And I want to have a Metal Militia wheel, and I want to have a Brian Deegan tire, and I want this. I said, "Well, slow down there, hotshot. Let's start." And we started with a Metal Militia wheel. And then he ended up getting a tire program, which I told him would never happen, but he pulled it off. And, he's just very entrepreneurial. And, he learned how quickly that, the digital wave was coming. And so, he has 1 million followers on Instagram. He's got a huge following, over 1 million followers subscribed to his family's YouTube page that have, tons of episodes. And I mean, I don't know if they're as popular as the Kardashians, maybe more.
In off-road, they're as popular. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're the Kardashians of off-road. And so I think that, but what he's done is he's taught his children that as well. So Billy Deegan, his daughter, is now racing in the truck series for NASCAR. Mm-hmm. She's got 1 million plus followers or more. And so they learned that in order to get to the level they wanted to get to, First, they do a ton of hard work. They are racing all the time, go-karts, motorcycles, racers. They're always in something racing. And they're always they're students of the game. So it wasn't just money and magic. They worked really hard. They'd watch videos of racing all the time, and they fine-tune their skill set. But they learned that they have to, create this digital audience, and that's what's going to be important to sponsors along the way. And so his son Hayden, who is Danger Boy Deegan, has 1 million plus followers as well. And they, again, same kind of thing. He's a rising star in the motocross, supercross side of things. And it was easy for me to do something through Off-Road Warehouse with Hayden and with Brian because of this great following that they have. And so I would encourage anybody, that wants to get involved, study what they've done, study what other young racers have done,
Exactly.
and figure out how to connect the social dots there.
Exactly. Copy the successes of others. Don't copy what they're doing. Copy what has made them successful and adapt it to yourself and your own personality, your own style. Businesses need to do that too. Copy the successful businesses, their style, and then adapt it to whatever industry or products you're selling. So I see that.
I bet my metaverse betting is better.
I hear somebody online. Who's that? Well, let me ask this, Greg. What is next on your agenda race-wise, and how do you use that to promote the next race or whatever it is you're going to be going to? How will you use that to promote your next event at ORW?
Yeah, so good question. So we're next for myself and my buddy that I raced the trophy truck with. Again, I have a partner. I never wanted to own a trophy truck. So I only own half of one. I somehow feel, but we're going to race the Baja 500 and then the Baja 1000. And again, we've got this sales contest going on where one of our ORW employees is going to win a trip down there. And we're going to build off of that because, the techs in the back who do the installations are saying, hey, how do I get involved? And other folks want to be able to come down and have a good time down there in Baja. We'll promote that through, the different social media outlets we have. We'll do some pre-videos of testing, and we're really, there's a lot of work that goes into Baja, and it's really our first race as a team. I've done it for years. There's pictures of, some of the old races down there behind me, and
Cool.
I know what's involved, but you really got to have your act together to go down there and do it right, which is at the forefront for us. So we'll start to try to document that so that, people that have an interest in how you get down there and what it takes, et cetera, will be able to take part in that. Some of the pre-running, a lot of the racers always will tell you the pre-running is a big part of it. Some guys do an incredible job at the video and social media around even pre-running. So I know Bryce Menzies and his Red Bull. My son's watching that video, while I'm still out pre-running, that video's already going, he's already got that promoted. And so, he's done, again, teams like that have done a really good job. That's something that others can learn from. And even as an old guy, I'm still learning. So, that's something we can take a cue from with the job that they do, producing that content quickly as it's happening, as close to as it's happening as possible.
We're both learning all the time, every day. So I remember there was a person, I think his name was Mark Ting, maybe Mark E. Ting, that you have to get a hold of back to get a sponsorship. Who now does the sponsorships to Off-Road Warehouse? If someone on the call wants to reach out to ORW, how do they do that?
Yeah, it's Mark Ting, orwmail.com. And Mark Ting we just put it all together, so there's no dash or decimal or anything like that. So marketing at ORW mail, MAIL.com. And again, you'd like to do a lot more. I'd like to do a lot more. I want to get the company in a position to be able to do more. Today, our focus is really around trying to have driver opportunities through contingency programs and create those kind of partnerships that way. But one thing I learned a long time ago from my dad in business was never hurts to listen, always listen. And so if that's, if there's opportunities that people want to run by me, whether it's, tied to sponsorship or what it may be, we always try to listen and then just figure out if it's something that we are in a position to do as a business.
You've always had a good ear and you've always been open to ideas. As long as I've known you, you were one of the easiest CEOs and presidents to deal with. A lot of those guys were tough and very difficult, but you were very approachable and you would listen. And it resulted in a lot of good cross promotions over the years. So I encourage anybody on the call who's trying to get into a retailer to listen to what Greg has said about working with that retailer and coming up with good content in a way that relates to the retailer's brand and sales and really make things happen that way. So this is a good segue where I'm going to run over to my other camera. Greg, we've gone a little bit beyond the 45-minute mark. I promised you'd be 45 minutes almost to the minute, and I think we kind of did it. And I'm going to let anybody who's still on the call to ask questions one-on-one. Hang in there. Don't go away. Thank you very much, Greg, for this time. You were awesome. And I'm going to open the floor, so don't go away.
Okay. Thank you.